Hey everybody, this is Dave Dugdale, learningdslrvideo.com, and I got to meet up with Eric Franks at the VidCon conference in LA over the weekend. And one of the questions that he kind of helped me with was making a transition from a camera like this one, the HDR SR7 Sony camcorder, to something like what I'm filming, which is the Canon T2i, which is a DSLR. It's cut a big step, and so I wanted to ask him, maybe help out other people of, when do you make that big step up?
Well, I think there's actually two different questions there. And first is a more general question of when should you upgrade your camera gear, and I'm a big fan of upgrading your camera gear last. I mean, I'm a total gear slut. I always want to buy new stuff. I mean, everybody does, right? But you can waste money buying more camera than you know how to use. So you should take whatever your existing camera is, whether that's an iPhone or a flip cam or the Sony HDR SR7, and do all you can with lighting, do all you can with audio, do all you can with stabilization. Then if you're still at that point not happy with your video, then it's time to upgrade. Because all of those things, when you work with light, audio, and stabilization first, those things will all apply to your fancy new camera as well. So that's the first part of the equation, just generally. Now, the difference between your automatic your Canon HV20 or your Sony HDR-SR blah blah blah, which is an automatic. I mean, you turn those things on, put them in auto mode, and push the record button. 99% of the time, you're going to get great video. That's not the case with this at all. So this is a Canon T2i, which we're both using now, and when it's in auto mode, you do that little half shutter press and then click to take the picture. That works great for still pictures, and it can work for setting up your video shots too, but once you're shooting video, it doesn't do all the automatic adjustments. So for example, when we flip the camera around here and shoot out the window from inside this room to outside, which is a pretty sunny day, the Sony's going to handle that really well. It's going to drop the exposure and do whatever it's got to do. This camera, once it's recording, is not going to do that, and it's just going to be blown out outside, which is fine, but that's a limitation you have to deal with. That answers your question?
Yeah.
I think another aspect with a DSLR camera is certainly with the 50mm lens, the cheap $100 50mm lens that I have on here. What did you call this lens?
Fantastic plastic.
The Fantastic Plastic.
And it's not, I guess it's not actually plastic. I don't know why they call it that.
Well, it's mostly, I think
the body is,
yeah, the body's plastic, as opposed to many of the lenses that have metal on it, which, whatever, who cares if it looks good. And it does look good.
It looks really good.
But yeah, I mean, I think maybe we could shoot a close-up of this in just a minute. I'll just click this lens into autofocus. I don't know what the hell I'm pointing at over there on the wall, and I'm going to do the little half press on it right now, and I do the half press to get the autofocus to work on it, and that wasn't too bad, but that's about as fast as it gets.
Yeah.
And that was like probably a second and a half to focus, which again, for a $100 lens is pretty good. But because this lens has such a wide aperture and such a narrow, such a shallow depth of field, you end up doing that all the time. So if you have a lockdown shot and whatever imaginary thing I'm shooting over there doesn't ever move, you're going to be fine. But as soon as that thing moves and the focus changes, you need to refocus. And as long as you're shooting video, you can't use the auto mode. So you end up riding this all the time, trying to get the focus right. And it's a pain in the butt. Yeah. I mean, it should be a pain in the butt. That's why you bought this lens, because it's got a narrow depth of field. But that's something you've totally got to be ready for. Yeah. So there are many times when you know what you're going to shoot. You're going to be shooting stuff that has plenty of light. You might want to. This is a great lens in low light. But when you're shooting in a situation where you have plenty of light, where you would definitely not select this lens, because you've just got to constantly be riding the focus on it.
Yeah.
So, right tool for the right job, right?